Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christian. Good morning, good evening, good night, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you're seeing this, I hope you are good. So guys, today we are going to be doing a tarot and oracle card collection tour. I'm going to be taking you guys through all of my decks, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about which decks are my favorite ones for different reasons. There's even some decks in here that I've never really used, so you're going to be getting my first impressions basically on a couple of these decks, because some of these decks I literally have never even really seen them or gotten into them. So I'm super excited to get into this for you guys. My tarot video is one of my, I believe it is my most viewed video, me going through all of the tarot cards. So here we are going through my tarot collection, and we are going to be talking about the best decks for beginners. If you are a beginner in tarot and you want to take my self-led tarot course, you can check down below, and I'm going to have where you can book to get your course. The course is completely self-led. Whenever you purchase, you'll be getting a tarot guidebook with everything you need about the history of tarot, symbolism, all things and then some to help guide you throughout the process. And you'll also be getting over 3 hours worth of footage, all just for you, where we're going to be getting into everything tarot, and you'll be able to take my entire tarot course yourself on your own time. And when you're finished with that course, you can send me an email and let me know you're finished, and I will send you your certificate. I've really been enjoying, having you guys go through the course and tell me how much it's helped you. And the best thing is that you have that course material forever. So you always have those links. You can always use them to go back and refresh whenever you need to. And I don't know when you guys are watching this, but on December 15th, I'm going to be having a year-end releasing event to celebrate the last full moon of the year. If you're interested, go ahead and check down below in the description box. I have the information there where you guys can get your ticket to the year-end releasing event. I'm going to allow you guys to get tickets until, let's say, December 15th at, let's say 1 p.m. Central. I'm going to let you guys have until 1 p.m. Central, because I know some people are going to be last minute rolling in, and there's really not much that you have to do to prepare except for just show up, to the releasing webinar and let me know what you want to be releasing and bringing in for 2025. So if that's something, I can't believe we're about to be in 2025. I almost said 2015. That just threw me for a little spin right there. But if you're interested in that, you can check down below as well to get your ticket to the year-end releasing. If you guys want to book with me, follow me on any of my Instagrams, get into anything, check down below. It's all in the description box. So let's go ahead and get into the decks without any further ado. This is going to be my tarot and oracle collection. So guys, I'm going to start with my first ever decks. Now, I don't remember the order that I got these decks in, but my first decks I do remember. So we're going to get into those, and then we're just going to make our way down. So let's go ahead and get started with my first ever tarot deck, the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. Now, I absolutely adore the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. I think this is just a beautiful set of cards. I love the imagery on these cards. Now, some people would say that these cards aren't really great for beginners. I heard that these cards weren't good for beginners, but I didn't care, honey. I wanted to get these cards, and I did, and I absolutely love them. Also, all of these cards, with the exception of, I believe, 2 of them, are from Amazon. So if you guys search the names of any of these decks, you'll be able to find them on Amazon. So this is what the cards look like. I'm just briefly, going through, giving you guys a little tour really quick. Hopefully nothing's in reverse. Of course, I'm showing you guys something in reverse, but these cards are really beautiful. I really love the imagery, and I think these cards are great if you're a visual person, especially if you're trying to learn the tarot. The expressions on these cards are just so vivid. The imagery is so vivid. It really puts you into, whatever the meaning of the card is. And how can you ever be, lost in a reading for yourself or for others when you have, a clear image of what is going on? So this is my first ever tarot deck. I really love this deck. I would definitely recommend this for beginners alongside the Rider-Waite deck. And I guess we can go ahead and get into that next. But yes, this was my first ever tarot deck, and I love the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. I don't really reach for these decks anymore because you guys know I'm relying more on my intuition when I'm doing readings and less on the cards. And tarot just really gives it away for me. Like tarot, when I'm reading cards for people without tarot, it's really just not even a challenge for me. So I did kind of want to challenge myself a little bit, but me getting back into these cards might make me want to add them back into what I'm doing. But let's go ahead and get into the next deck, guys. This is the Rider-Waite. I know it was going to go in order, but I'll show you guys my first 2 oracle decks, and then I'll show you the rest of the tarot decks, and then we'll get into all of the oracle decks. So don't mind if a little bit of dust or cat hair flies off of these decks. Okay, these have been put away. Now, Let's get into the Rider-Waite deck. Of course, classic in its little beat up paper box. Now this is the deck that most people recommend that you start off with. Most tarot decks are based off of the Rider-Waite deck. You could find all different types of variations of these cards. Honestly, most tarot decks are just based off of variations of this imagery. And you can't go wrong with the Rider-Waite deck. You know, people feel how they feel about the Rider-Waite deck, but I feel like you can't go wrong with it. It's one of those tried and true, you know, type of card designs. Here are a few more cards. You just can't go wrong with the Rider-Waite deck, you know. The images are classic. I don't know, this deck just takes me back. I love the Rider-Waite deck, and it's just a classic deck. I always recommend this for beginners. It's just something good to have, so whenever you have decks that are a little bit more illustrative, you can compare them to the typical symbolism that you would mostly see. So yeah, let's go ahead and keep it moving with the Work Your Light Oracle cards and the Energy Oracle cards. These were my first 2 Oracle cards that I ever got, or it could have been the Moonology deck. I'm really not sure, but a combination of these and 2 was the first 2 cards I got, and then I added 1. But I think I had these 2 decks first, and then I added this one later on. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into these Oracle cards, these 3, well, these 2. We'll get into Moonology a little bit later, but I have the Work Your Light Oracle cards. The Work Your Light Oracle cards. Let's go ahead and get to these. I think these cards are great for beginners. I think these, like this style of card is really, really great. I have some other cards here, I believe, by Rebecca Campbell. So a lot of times you'll find Oracle decks or tarot decks, but I feel this is more common with Oracle decks where the same person will make multiple decks. So I think that the decks made by Rebecca Campbell are very beginner friendly. So that's a name that you can look out for. I'm sure you guys have seen these in my readings. Who or what is triggering you? I love these Oracle cards for beginners because it just gives you a very simple, clear message. You really don't have to think too much about what the card is saying. It's very, very clear. The imagery is very clear. And these decks are going to give you statements. They're going to give you questions, things that you can turn into journal prompts, all kinds of things to be on the lookout for, things to just keep in mind. So I really, really love this Oracle deck for everybody. For beginners and for anyone. I think, you know, Oracle decks are just something that never gets old. So love this Oracle deck. The Energy Oracle cards is something else I really, really love. You guys know I'm always using the Energy Oracle cards. If you've been getting any personal readings from me, these are the cards that I use in my personal readings. And I love these cards because they have a set of chakra cards. And I believe this is my only Oracle deck with a set of chakra cards. So you have chakra cards here. You also have a lot of different things like adjacent possibilities. There's also cards here like contract. So this is a really good deck to use in conjunction with your tarot cards. If you ever wanted to say, okay, let's see what this is about. You know, you'll be able to get some clarity with the Energy Oracle deck, and it'll bring a lot of different things to the surface. So I think this is a really good deck to use in conjunction with your tarot cards if you're just beginning. And if you're not, I just love this deck because, like I mentioned, they also have a lot of different doors. They have a door to spirit, door to romance, door to abundance, like a door to like money. So I love this deck because I feel like they have a little bit of everything. See, another door to personal healing and happiness. So I like Oracle decks like this where, you know, the cards are kind of just kind of broken up in different categories. So I think that the Energy Oracle is a good Oracle card for beginners as well. Let's jump back into the tarot cards so we can get into all of our tarot cards, guys. This is another tarot deck that I got from Amazon, and this is basically the same as the Rider-Waite. It's just a different color scheme as the Rider-Waite. As you see, the Rider-Waite cards are more, you know, light. They're more of like a light saturated kind of bright color palette. And this deck here is more of like a muted, warm, you know, orangey kind of color palette. So that's really the only difference. But this is exactly like the Rider-Waite deck. So I did like having these different cards. Also, I just like the feel of these cards. You know, I like cards that are really good for shuffling. All of the cards that I have are, you know, great for shuffling. So I really, really love these. And this is basically what the artwork looks like on here. I just got this off of Amazon, just a regular standard, you know, tarot deck. And the images are exactly, you know, the same as the images on the Rider-Waite deck. It is the Rider-Waite deck, essentially, just in a different color scheme. So you'll also find a lot of options like that. So let's get into the Lunasol Tarot. I love, love, love the packaging on this deck of cards. I think it's so beautiful. This is magnetized down here, and then this box opens up and you have your cards in here. I think this is just gorgeous packaging. You guys know me. I love a really nice packaging when it comes to cards, so I love this. This is what the cards look like. This is what we're getting on the cards. This is the back of the cards as well. I'm going to make sure I show you guys the back for the other ones. I haven't been showing you the front and the back, but I just love this deck of cards because all of the images are just pastel and beautiful. I think the images here are just very, very nice and cute. I might not recommend these for beginners because I feel like the imagery here is very eclectic. It can be a little bit of everything. So I think this is better for an intermediate or even, you know, like an advanced tarot reader. If this is just kind of your aesthetic, this pastel. If you like this aesthetic, then I think this is going to be a good deck for you. But as a beginner, you might be like, girl, this is a little bit too much for me. This deck has a lot of people of color on it. And also in this deck, they have a few additional cards. So we have a Wu-Wei card here. Wu-Wei. So I believe this card just represents the flow of life, you know, so just being open to the flow of life, being open to the ups and downs and wherever life takes you. So some tarot decks will have specific cards to their deck that you won't find in any other tarot deck. This Lunasol Tarot is one of them. So we have a Wu-Wei card here. I also believe that we have another card like that in this deck. I'm not really sure which one it is, and I'm not about to go through here and get into it, but I do love the Lunasol Tarot. I think the images are gorgeous, and I love, 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 love the packaging. So if you love the packaging, I think this would be a great card to get. I would say if you're trying to get another deck after you've been getting really familiar with your beginner deck, this will be a good deck to kind of test you, because a lot of the symbolism, of course, it can be, you know, traced back to just the original tarot meanings. It's not that difficult to, you know, go through that symbolism. It can be, but it isn't horrifically difficult. But if you're really familiar with the tarot of the Rider-Waite or your first original tarot deck, I definitely think the Lunasol will be a good second or third deck to add to your collection. So let's get into the Angel Wisdom Tarot. Now, this is one of my favorite decks. I love, 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 love this deck, especially for beginners, and you can see why. All of these cards have descriptions on the bottom. So whenever you pull one of these cards, you have great, you know, gorgeous descriptions. I love these descriptions because they just, you know, give you that little extra bit of help if you need it. And it can bring some different things to the surface that maybe you wouldn't have thought. So this is the Fool, but on this, you know, in this deck, it's the Dreamer. So there are some variations in tarot cards like that, where it may be one thing in one deck and then another deck, it'll be represented in another way. So I really love this deck. I think this would be a spectacular deck for beginners. Now, the images here aren't necessarily, you know, if you put these cards next to a Rider-Waite tarot deck, it'll still, you know, make sense for the most part. But you are going to, you know, have different imagery here. But these definitions that they give you on the cards are really, really good. So if you need, you know, a deck that's going to give you some good definitions, I definitely would recommend, you know, the Angel Wisdom Tarot. I really love that deck. Now let's get into my spooky deck. This is probably the only spooky deck that I have. This is the Santa Muerte Tarot. Of course, Santa Muerte, we know, Book of the Dead. So this is the Book of the Dead, the Santa Muerte Tarot deck. And I like this deck. I think it's really, really beautiful. I think the colors are gorgeous. You have this gold, you know, foil on the outside of the design. The top pops open like this, and then you have your deck of cards right here. I really do like this deck of cards. The only reason I don't use it often is because a lot of the people that I work with are also Christians. So if people see decks of cards with skulls and stuff, they're going to be like, Lord Jesus, what the hell is this? So I don't use this deck often, but this is a very spooky deck. If this is your vibe, if you have this type of aesthetic, I think that these, you know, cards are just, oh, look at this High Priestess. Look at how gorgeous. I think that the detail on these cards is amazing. I think all of the imagery here is really, really beautiful. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you're a fan of the Day of the Dead, then, you know, this could be a deck for you. I really, really love this tarot deck. And, you know, I think my clients would appreciate it as well. But I don't know, child. Sometimes they be a little spooked. Y'all be spooked when y'all see death and the devil. So I don't want y'all to be looking at skulls and crossbones, you know what I'm saying? But I really, really love this deck. It's so beautiful. I believe we have a pregnant Mother Mary. That's what I would think this is. But I really, really love this deck. Definitely would recommend. I would really recommend that deck if it's your style. Some of these decks you really just get if it's your style. So if that's your style and that's your vibe, then I would recommend checking that deck out. Now let's get into the RuPaul Drag Race Tarot cards. Now I was at a spiritual shop in Dallas and I saw this and I was like, girl, let me just get the RuPaul Drag Race cards. Why not? And I thought that they were going to have the drag queens like in different positions, but they don't. They literally just have the drag queens on the cards just standing up in outfits. And, you know, like here's Valentina. Valentina is a star. So they literally just have, you know, the drag queens on here. There isn't really anything in particular. I thought that the drag queens were going to be like, you know, in like the tarot poses with like the tarot imagery. And girl, they're not. But I still love the deck. I mean, the deck still eats down. It still, see, Jasmine Masters. Jasmine Masters. It's still, you know, super, super cute. But, you know, not too much going on here. Pearl. Not too much going on, but that's the RuPaul Drag Race Tarot deck. If you're a fan of Drag Race, of course, I mean, you have to have this deck. I mean, I would definitely say this is kind of like a collector's item. I don't think I've ever used this in a reading. I think whenever I saw the cards, I was like, dang, because I didn't think it would just be a drag queen on each card. I thought they would be in like tarot-esque poses, but I do still love the deck. I still think the deck is super cute, so that's definitely an option. Let's get into this dusty deck. Now, if you've been looking on Amazon, I know you've seen the Mystic Mondays. Everybody that's been on Amazon has seen the Mystic Mondays or has purchased the Mystic Mondays. So this deck is a little bit dusty because I never, ever, ever, ever used this deck. This definitely was one of my first tarot decks as well. And, you know, I liked it, but the imagery did kind of confuse me a little bit. I think that, you know, for me as a beginner, I got these cards and it was a little difficult for me to kind of, you know, read and understand. I think the imagery, and I'm looking in my mirror behind my phone just to make sure that, you know, the cards are in frame for you guys. If you guys see me looking behind, and I'm sure you've been seeing me do that. But anyway, basically you just see the imagery on here, 5 of Cups. 5 cups, you know, ain't nobody crying. There's no really sign. There's no actual sign of grief on the card. Like the 10 of Cups, this talks about, you know, great things in friendship and family and relationships, you know, getting everything that you want and in friendships and relationships, 100% emotional fulfillment. And you really don't get that from this deck. You know, it just says like 10 cups on the card. So I still think that these cards are gorgeous. I would definitely not recommend these for a beginner though, because I think that they're just a little bit too abstract for a beginner. If you're relying on the symbolism as you're going through the decks, I wouldn't say this will be a good one. So if this is a deck that you've been thinking about on Amazon, like, should I get this? I'll probably say no. It is a good deck though if you want to test yourself. It is a good deck if you want to test yourself and get familiar with the Rider-Waite and then look at this and be like, okay, you know, I don't have all of the symbolism, but I do have a little bit to go off of. So I think this will be a good deck to kind of test yourself with, but the Mystic Mondays deck is not my favorite. But I really do love the packaging. You know, the packaging is very nice. We have the foil on the outside of the deck, and then, you know, we have this peekaboo design on the box. So I do think that is very, very nice. The Wandering Star Tarot. I really, really do like this tarot deck. Let's get into the Wandering Star Tarot. Her packaging is regular. And look at her little booklet. All of the tarot decks and oracle decks that you should get should come with a little booklet, something to tell you basically what all of the meanings of the cards are. You'll either get a booklet or you'll get a little piece of paper that will have a link for you to basically, you know, go online and see. But this is the Wandering Star Tarot. So I know I was supposed to show y'all the back and the front of the cards and I ain't been doing that, but my bad, y'all. But the Wandering Star Tarot is so, so gorgeous and beautiful. What I love about this deck is that there's little words going all around the borders of the deck. And I love that the images are very, 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 very detailed. So I would say that this is a deck that could be beneficial for beginners because you have these extra words that are on the cards. Any deck that you have that has extra words, a lot of symbolism, these are going to be the cards that are going to be really, really great for beginners. So I think that because you have these extra words in the margins, it just gives you, you know, that extra little help, you know, when you're reading and going through, you know, your decks. If you're wondering of a certain energy or something like that, when you're going through your readings, it could be good to have those words in there. So that is the Wandering Star Tarot. I really, really love this deck. I just think that it's just, you know, a gorgeous deck and the imagery is so fun and cool and funky. So the Wandering Star is definitely a winner. Let's get into the Essential Tarot deck, guys. So this is my little bitty mini tarot deck. And I'm going to put it together because I had it separate. So when I got this deck, it comes in a little set like this. And you open her up And this is what you have inside. So you have your booklet and you have your deck. This deck is very, 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 very small. This is a little bitty tarot deck. Very small compared to other cards. Very little compared to other cards. But the cards are very, very, very descriptive. And I love the hardcover essential book of tarot that you get. And to be honest, this is just a good deck to get just for this book. This is a hardcover book, so this book is going to last you. And you get a photo of each card on here, and they tell you basically the meanings of every single card in the deck. So I think that this is a really, really great deck to have. Even like I said, if you just get it just so you can get the card, they tell you different spreads. They give you a rundown. I already showed y'all the page with the moon on it, my bad. But they give you a rundown of the different cards. So, I mean, you can't go wrong. I think this is definitely great for beginners. And, of course, you have very, very expressive. Is this upside down? It is. I feel like these paintings are very expressive. I feel like you can pull a lot from them, even though it isn't the traditional symbolism. And the book is super, super, super awesome. So I think that the biggest benefit from purchasing this deck is just getting a great booklet that you can use. So don't sleep on the booklets, guys. I toss a lot of my booklets, honestly, because it's just the same information. But a booklet like that is going to be something great that you'll be able to just, you know, hang on to for the long run. So that is the Essential Book of Tarot. That's the name, right? Essential Tarot book and card set. So make sure you guys get into the Essential Tarot. What are the other tarot decks? I feel like this is going faster than what I thought it was going to go. All right, let's keep getting into it. So we have the Tarot of the Nile. These are my two black tarot decks, specifically my black tarot decks. Tarot of the Nile, y'all know I love this deck. This deck, look at the box. I mean, this deck has been very, very well loved. And I really don't mind the box looking a mess because my cards are always going to be, you know, pretty decent, even though like the box is all beat up. So this deck is essentially based off of the Rider-Waite deck as well. You just basically have everybody Egyptian. Everybody's Egyptian. So if you like Egyptian things, if that's your vibe, I definitely think that this is going to be a good deck for you, beginner or not. I just think that this is a good deck. They do have some pretty good symbolism on this deck. I think you could definitely easily tie this symbolism to the Rider-Waite, of course. All of the symbolism on here is just based on ancient Egypt and based on the Egyptians. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous deck featuring people of color. Highly, highly recommend. Now, you know, a lot of the folks on here is yellow, but you get the picture. You get the picture. So I really love Tarot of the Nile. My Tarot of the Nile came from Amazon, just like most of these decks. This is a deck that did not come from Amazon. I told you guys that I had two decks that didn't come from Amazon. The RuPaul Drag Race deck and the Mahogany Tarot. Now, don't beat me up, girl. A gorgeous black woman sent me this deck. This is her deck, the Mahogany Tarot deck by Kashira Hickson. I believe you can go to mahoganytarot.com, I think. If you Google Mahogany Tarot deck, I think you'll be able to find it. But look at mahoganytarot.com, and I believe you'll be able to look into it. So this is essentially the Rider-Waite deck, but everybody on it is black. This is exactly the Rider-Waite deck. The images are exactly the same. The images are exactly the same. Everybody is just a person of color. Everybody is black on here. So I love the Mahogany Tarot. I love with the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. I love what all of the, look at the Queen of Wands with her afro. Like I love what all of the, you know, feminine figures look like on this deck. And this is the back of this deck. Super cute, right? So I really, really love the Mahogany Tarot. Definitely would recommend you guys checking out the Mahogany Tarot. Great deck for beginners. Great deck for beginners because this is the Rider-Waite deck. So this is a great deck for beginners. If you're just starting out and you want that beginner Rider-Waite deck, I would definitely recommend the Mahogany Tarot. Are these my last few tarot cards? Okay, yes. I have my last 3 tarot decks, guys, and then we're going to be getting to some oracle cards. So let's get into it. The Tarot of the Cloisters. Now, you guys, I hope I'm saying this right, Cloisters. You guys have loved this card deck. These are my circular tarot cards, and I only have one set of circular cards, and this is it. I love, 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 love these tarot cards. All of the images on these cards are stained glass. How gorgeous is that? I think that this could be a good deck to use for beginners. The only thing I would say about this deck is that it can be kind of tricky when you're trying to read reversals, because it's not going to just come up, you know, it might come up in any degree because this is a circle. So your card might pop up like this. It's like, if this is a reversal or not, you know? So I would say this is a good deck to read, not reading reversals. And for that reason, it could be good for beginners. But some of the energy may be a little bit difficult to read. And also there's different wording on here. Like this says the Knight of Staves, the Knight of Staves. So in this deck, the staves are actually the wands. So the staves are the wands. Here are a few of the major arcana. So you have to get used to those different terminologies. Like sometimes it's pentacles, sometimes it's coins. On this deck, it says the 9 of vessels. So instead of cups, they use the word vessels. So on certain decks, you know, there might be certain, you know, different things that you might want to be on the lookout for, just so you keep up with the different ways that, you know, things are being said and stuff like that. But yeah, that's basically it. You know, sometimes they may call a wand something different, or a sword something different, or a cup, a vessel. Sometimes it's pentacles or coins, like I mentioned. So yes, but either way, I really, really love the Tarot of the Cloisters. I think it's just a beautiful deck. It's just beautifully made. And I love the stained glass design. So I love, love, love that deck. Now let's get into this deck. This deck has always been kind of confusing to me. I haven't ever really did much with this deck. This deck kind of feels like a video game kind of deck. This is the Vice Versa Tarot. It's definitely not my favorite. And all of these cards are double-sided. So the front means something, the back means something, and in reverse, each one means something different. That is too much for me, honey. Like, look, for example, the Five of Pentacles. Here we have the Five of Pentacles, and this is the back of the card. So I would say, and mind you, this is the Vice Versa Tarot. This is what it looks like. This is what the box looks like. If you get this deck, I would say, you know, this is a good deck to get if you are like a tarot master and you want to, you know, challenge yourself to look at tarot from some different options, because we never really get to see the back of, you know, what any of these people are doing. So I think that this card deck is a really, really just interesting depiction of these symbols that we see all the time. Literally just giving you a 360 view, you know, a 360 view. You get to see the entire tarot scene. So I think that this deck is really, really beautiful. If you are, you know, an experienced person, you can see these hands behind the back for the Eight of Swords. Like, that's gorgeous. A lot of times we just kind of, you know, put the pieces together based off what we see. But this deck gives you a little bit more to play with. And I really, really, really love that. So this is a Vice Versa Tarot. I couldn't get committed to this when I was, you know, using tarot cards, because I was like, girl, this is too much. Is it coming from the front, the back, side, girl, this is just too much. But I do really, really love this deck, looking at it again. And I think this deck is gorgeous. And also, there's no wording on this deck. All you have are these signs on the bottom. That's another reason this is hard as hell for me to read. I'm like, is this a knight, a king, a who? Like, what is it supposed to be? So you basically have to recognize what these signs are. And, you know, you have the pentacles here. So that's something that you may need to get used to. But yes, you know, I think that this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful deck. We have the King of Swords here. Isn't this giving like Game of Thrones? This really gives Game of Thrones to me. Like, this deck is just gorgeous. So this is the Vice Versa Tarot deck. I would recommend her if you're an artsy person, or if you have more of like a medieval kind of taste. I think it definitely would be your vibe. Let's get into the Tarot of the Divine. This is my Mulan coated tarot deck. Guys, this deck is stunning. I love the Tarot of the Divine. This is just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tarot deck. All of the images on here are just, I mean, they're gorgeous. The images on these cards is gorgeous. I would say that this is probably not the best deck for a beginner. I would say this is a good second or third tarot deck to get, because the imagery, as you can see, is a little bit all over the place. If you're relying on the imagery, you know, this imagery is more about telling a story outside of tarot, I believe. You know, it's a cultural story that they're also telling with the images. So you're going to get more than, you know, just the tarot images here. You'll be able to really pull more. There's a lot of cultural, you know, and traditional, you know, meaning behind these cards. So I think these cards are really, really gorgeous. Look at the King of Pentacles, this gorgeous, beautiful, wise turtle, obsessed. So I really, really like this deck. I think this is a good second or third deck to grab, or if you want to test yourself. And what I mean by testing yourself is, once you get really, really familiar with one deck and you start working with another deck, you might, you know, get a little tripped up. So I think it's good to, you know, step into decks that have, you know, symbolism that you can kind of connect with. that can help you move from point A to point B as you need to, so you can get familiar with what you're picking up on. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the oracle cards, guys. That was all of my tarot cards. I feel like I thought I had more, but let's go ahead and get to the oracle decks. And a lot of these you guys are familiar with. You guys already know my Angel Answers oracle deck. I'm always using my Angel Answer oracle. So a reason I love these cards is because they have 3 different categories. So if you look, you'll see purple rims, you'll see blue rims, and you'll see yellow rims of the cards. So the yellow is time. So we have a year from now. We have wait. Also, the blue is going to be like yes or no. So we have unlikely. We have no here. We also have yes. So if you wanted to, you could pull out the blues to have a yes or no deck. If you wanted to, you could pull out the yellows. We have you're ready for a time deck. So I think this is a really, really great deck for beginners. You basically get 3 decks in one. And the purple is just all different types of, messages. If you believe, let go, recovery. So I think that this is a great, great deck for beginners. The images are very gorgeous. The images are very clear. It's very, very clear what it's telling you to do. You don't have to really think too much and, question yourself too much. I think using clear messages is always going to be great when you're beginning, because when you're beginning, you're doubting yourself and you're doubting if you're really getting the message you're supposed to be getting. So trust the Angel Answers. I definitely like the Angel Answers Oracle deck, one of my faves. Let's get into a deck that I've really never really used or touched much. This is Oracle of the 7 Energies. I have not done much with this deck at all. I think I've used this deck in maybe one of my readings, maybe 1 or 2 of them. It has a beautiful case where you pop her open like this. And let's go ahead and see. So this is a really gorgeous Oracle deck. I would say this is going to be a good deck for beginners as well. So we have Wish Upon a Star here. Sacred Reverence. I think the images on here are just gorgeous. Into Me, I See. I think this is a really good deck to get into if you want to, just challenge yourself to kind of rely on symbolism, but also pull what you can from the symbolism of a card. I think the wording on here isn't so specific that you don't have to do any of the work. Like maybe with the Angel Answers, it's very, very obvious. So I think that, this deck will definitely give you the opportunity to use your intuition a little bit. I would definitely say that this is a good deck to use as a beginner if you're wanting to, like I mentioned, strengthen your intuition. I would say this is also a good deck to use for our everyday card pull. If you wanted to pull something every single day, this is going to be a good one to get into. So again, I might start using this deck in a lot more of my readings. So this is the Oracle of the 7 Energies. Definitely would recommend the Oracle of the 7 Energies to beginners. Let's get into the Romance Oracle. Now, this is one of my favorite and first Oracle decks, the Romance Angels. You guys have definitely seen me use this little purple deck with the gold trim. I love these cards. All things romance and love. So give your relationship a chance. Work on your partnership. Honeymoon. Enjoy the bliss of time away together. Enjoy the bliss of honeymoon time together. So there's all different types of messages here relating to love. I would say this is great for beginners if you want to offer love readings. This is something great to have when you're doing those love readings. If you want to have some clarifying cards for love readings, these would be great, or just something to use alongside what you're doing for your love readings. I would definitely recommend getting that Romance Angel card. Let's get into the Angel Guide Oracle. This is another deck that I really haven't done much of anything with. The Angel Guide Oracle. Ooh, okay. Girl, look at the big wad of cat hair that just fell out of that box. That's how you know ain't nobody been in it. But these cards are literally brand new. As you guys can see, this is a brand new, deck. I probably have shuffled this maybe twice. So the backs of these cards are absolutely gorgeous. Again, this is the Angel Guide Oracle by Kyle Gray. And wow, I really love these cards. We have Courage and Bravery. I would say this is definitely a really good deck for beginners as well. Great Oracle deck for beginners. We have another one for beginners. Beginners in the house. Another one for beginners. Really, really gorgeous imagery here. Beautiful imagery here. Definitely will recommend this deck for beginners, guys. This is going to just be a good Oracle deck to support whatever reading you're doing. I would say this is another deck that you can probably just use this by itself in your reading. So I'm definitely going to start switching up the decks that I'm using now moving forward. But Let's keep this thing going. We have the self-care oracle, the sacred self-care oracle. I'm always using this deck. I love the sacred self-care oracle. A bunch of self-care tips. This is a great deck for beginners. Great deck for beginners, for yourself or for others. When you're doing readings for people, you can give them actual exercises to do at the end of every reading. If you're wondering, how do I give somebody advice? I did the reading for them, but how do I tell them what they should be doing? Pull some sacred self-care oracle, and you can literally make an entire ritual for somebody based off of these cards. It's just important to make sure you're specific about what you ask the cards, of course, but this is a great deck for beginners. Get into it. Great deck for beginners, especially for releasing readings. I love using that deck for releasing readings to, you know, tell people some different things that they can add to their releasing routine. So let's get into it, guys. Now, this is a really fun box. This is the Starseed Oracle. This is my second Oracle deck that I have that's made by Rebecca Campbell. You guys know my first deck that I showed you in the beginning, the Work Your Light. This is the other deck that I have by the same person. So let's go ahead and get into this one. She opens up like this. Very cool with the triangle design. Love this deck. Again, this is a great deck for beginners. Great for beginners or anyone in their journey. The messages here are very clear. The images here are gorgeous. I would say that this is more of like an elevated version of the first set of cards that I showed you guys. Just because I feel the messages in this deck are a little more introspective. I feel like the first deck, the messages are more kind of like cut and dry, like pretty clear. But this deck causes, you know, you to do a little bit of introspection, a little bit of research, you know, into some different terminology that they mention. So I think this is a really good deck if you are, you know, passionate just about learning more, you know, spiritually, and just tapping into different, you know, different energies and different things that might be popping up for people in readings. Definitely would recommend that. The Divine Abundance. You guys know I love the Divine Abundance Oracle cards. I'm always using these beautiful cards. This is a great deck for beginners. These cards are super vivid, super detailed, gorgeous deck. I love these cards. I'm always using them. You have a message at the bottom of each card. These are great to start your readings with. Like, it can be very helpful to pull a card to give you the energy of a reading, or just like, okay, this is what the reading is going to be about. So I know whatever card I pull is in reference to this message. This is a great reading. This is a great deck for that. This is a great deck to start your readings off with. So highly recommend checking out the Divine Abundance Oracle. This is definitely one of my fave Oracle decks. One of my fave Oracle decks. And like I said, all of these came from Amazon. I'm going to have the link down below where you guys can shop everything on my Amazon link and get these decks. We have the Goddess Dream Oracle. Goddess Dream Oracle. This is also one of my fave Oracle cards. I use this Oracle card all the time. But the images on here are gorgeous. The images on here are gorgeous. The images are, they look painted. I don't know how this would even be painted. If this would be like acrylic paint or oil paint. But I mean, come on. Like, this looks like, these cards look like you got into, like, you know, a witch's book. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gives very much so hocus pocus with the aesthetic, like that true, authentic, you know, spiritual kind of like vibe. I really love kind of like 70s tapestries, low key. I love this deck. I think this is a great deck for beginners. This is going to be a deck that's going to be a great addition to any of your readings. And I know I keep saying these Oracle decks are great for beginners, but beginners, use these Oracle decks. Oracle decks are your best friend when you're beginning in your journey, so utilize them. We have Moonology. This is such a popular Oracle deck, and I love the Moonology deck myself. Each card is another phase of the moon, and these cards are very well loved, and they still look very nice. Each card is a phase of the moon. You guys have seen these cards a million times in my readings and in other people's readings, I'm sure, if you watch readings on YouTube, because everybody is always using the Moonology deck. This is a great deck to have in your collection. Great for beginners in any space. Also great to kind of get the energy of a moon. If it's a specific moon and that energy pops up, that's going to be something to keep in mind. Okay, guys. This is what we're going to end on. And I just made a couple of them fall out. But the Tea Leaf Fortune card. I really, really love the tea leaf fortune cards. I fell in love with these cards by seeing them in other people's readings, and I was like, I want cards like that give me every little detail. This is the biggest oracle deck that I have, the biggest card deck that I have. I have 200 cards in this deck. All of my other decks, the most they have is maybe 78 cards, but I have 200 cards in this deck. You guys know I'm always using my tea leaf fortune cards. These cards do come with a pretty big and extensive book, because these cards you're supposed to use to read the leaves of tea or coffee. So what you would do is you would brew your tea or you brew your coffee, and then you would read the leaves that would be in the cup. There's a huge book with a bunch of different photos of, pictures of tea leaves and what it represents. So that is what these cards are for. But of course, I use them in my oracle decks. They come in this red box, and they have 2 little holes right here for you to put the cards. So I love the packaging on these cards. Like I mentioned, 200 cards. And you guys know I'm always using these cards. These cards are just gorgeous. I don't think you can go wrong with the Tea Leaf Oracle. I think this is great for beginners, great for anybody in their, oracle reading stage. There's also a few different colors here. There are purple cards for the months of the year. There are purple cards here for the months of the year. And there are also green cards that say Astral House. Astral House. And the rest of the cards are red on the back, as you can see. But there are a lot of really, really great cards here, a lot of really great messages. This is a card deck that I really, really like, and a deck that I'm just very, very impressed with. I always love using this deck in all of my readings. It just brings me so much tea. I really love using this deck in my oracle readings as well. So this is another great deck to use as a beginner. You definitely want to get your shuffle game up, because this is a big deck to handle. I usually like to shuffle them literally in 2 stacks, and maybe like switch them out and, halving them up when I first get started, so everything's all mixed up. But I really, really love this deck. So yes, guys, that was the tour, okay? All of my tarot cards, all of my oracle cards, which ones are good for beginners and which ones are good for certain specific things. I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're a tarot beginner and you need somebody to teach you how to use these cards, then check down below in the description box to see how you can tap in to my self-led tarot class. And you can also see where you can purchase all of these cards from my Amazon link. What was your favorite deck from the video? What cards are you definitely going to be making sure you check out? Let me know how you guys feel about everything down below in the comment section. I love you guys as always, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys. Bless.